I lied to my mother 3 months ago, and tonight, that lie was about to walk through my front door. I told her I was in love. I told her he was kind. I told her I wasn't alone anymore. None of it was true. You have to understand something about me. I don't lie. I negotiate. I calculate. I win. But I don't lie. Except that night. I was tired of hearing the silence in my own penthouse. Tired of pretending that success felt like warmth. So when my mother asked softly, "Sierra, is there someone special?" I said yes. And now she and my father were landing in San Francisco in 48 hours. And I had no one. I stood in my office on the 47th floor of Vale Technologies, staring at the skyline like it might offer a solution. I had built a billion-dollar empire from nothing. I had outmaneuvered men twice my age. I had buried my grief when James died and turned it into ambition. But this was personal weakness. I opened my laptop and typed something I never imagined I would. Temporary boyfriend, discreet, professional. Ridiculous, pathetic, necessary. I was about to close the tab when my assistant buzzed in. "Miss Vale, there's a man here asking about the maintenance contract." "Send him in," I said automatically. He walked in wearing jeans, work boots, and a gray t-shirt dusted with sawdust. Tall, broad shoulders, hazel eyes that didn't flinch when they met mine. Not impressed, not intimidated, just steady. "Logan Reed," he said. "You needed a carpenter." His voice was low, calm, grounded, and for one reckless second I thought, what if? He noticed the open tab on my screen. His eyes flicked to the words, "temporary boyfriend," then back to me. One eyebrow lifted. "Rough week?" he asked. I should have shut it down. I should have dismissed him. Instead, I heard myself say something I've never said to anyone before. "I need a boyfriend by Friday." Silence. Then he said something that changed everything. "I don't date clients," he said. Pause. "But I'd consider helping a woman who looks like she hasn't slept in months." And that was the moment I realized this wasn't going to be simple. I should have laughed. That's what I usually do when someone challenges me. But I didn't, because he wasn't mocking me. He was studying me. Like I was a blueprint he was trying to understand. "You don't know anything about me," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "Sure I do," Logan replied calmly. "You're powerful. You're exhausted. And whatever that boyfriend thing is, it's not about impressing someone. It's about not disappointing them." The accuracy hit harder than I expected. I folded my arms, defensive, controlled. "It's a business arrangement," I clarified. 3 days. Dinner Friday, brunch Saturday, church Sunday. "I'll pay you $20,000. He didn't blink at the amount. That surprised me. Instead, he leaned back slightly, crossing his arms. "I have a daughter." That shifted something. "A daughter?" I repeated. 6, Mia. His jaw tightened just slightly. "If I do this, she comes first, always." Something in his tone told me that wasn't negotiable. I nodded. "Of course." He hesitated. "You're not looking for someone polished," he said. "You're looking for someone real enough to fool your parents." "I'm looking for someone convincing." He held my gaze. "Convincing means I'll have to look at you like I care." The room suddenly felt smaller. I swallowed. "Can you do that?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped closer, not invading, just enough that I could see the faint scar near his jaw, the tiredness in his eyes, the steadiness. "I can protect a lie," he said quietly. Pause. "But I don't protect people halfway." That wasn't flirtation. It was a warning, and for the first time since this ridiculous idea formed in my head, I felt something unexpected. Safety. It scared me. "You start tomorrow," I said quickly, breaking the moment. 6 p.m. my penthouse." He nodded once, then turned to leave. At the door he paused. "Just so we're clear," he added, glancing back at me. "If I see you're not fine, I won't pretend you are." The door closed behind him, and I stood there realizing something dangerous. For the first time in 5 years, I wanted someone to notice that I wasn't fine. I almost canceled. That's the truth. All day Friday I told myself this was reckless, unnecessary, weak. But at 5:58 p.m., I was standing in my penthouse, staring at my reflection in the glass. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect lie. The doorbell rang at exactly 6. My heart shouldn't have reacted the way it did, but it did. When I opened the door, Logan stood there in dark jeans and a fitted navy, buttoned down, clean, freshly shaved, still undeniably himself. And beside him, a little girl with messy blonde curls and serious hazel eyes. She held a stuffed unicorn like it was sacred. "You must be Sierra," she said before I could speak. Her voice was soft, careful. "Yes," I replied, crouching slightly to her level. "And you must be Mia." She studied me the way her father had. Not impressed, just measuring. Daddy says we're helping you this weekend, she said. Like pretend. My chest tightened. Yes, I said gently. Like pretend. Logan's eyes flicked to me. You okay? He asked quietly. The fact that he asked in front of his daughter, without shame, without performance, it did something to me. I'm fine, I answered automatically. Mia tilted her head. You don't look fine. Silence. I actually laughed. 6 years old and already more honest than every executive on my board. Well, I said softly, sometimes I forget how to rest. Mia nodded as if that made perfect sense. Daddy forgets too. I remind him. Logan exhaled under his breath. Inside, I said quickly, needing to regain control. They stepped into my penthouse and suddenly the space felt different, less polished, more exposed. Mia wandered toward the windows, staring at the skyline. It's like we're in the clouds, she whispered. Logan stayed near the entrance, watching me instead of the view. We need to go over the story, I said, business tone returning. How we met, how long we've been dating, details. He nodded, but he didn't move closer. He didn't touch me. He didn't perform, and that unsettled me more than if he had, because this wasn't a man pretending to care. This was a man waiting to see if I would let him. And I wasn't sure which terrified me more, my parents arriving tomorrow, or the way I already wanted this to feel real. We practiced our love story like it was a script. How we met. Who asked who out? What I supposedly fell for. I stood near the kitchen island with my wine glass. Logan leaned against the counter, arms crossed, listening carefully. So, he said, I met you while fixing something in your office building? Yes, the conference room remodel. And I wasn't impressed by your title. That part's important, I replied. My father respects men who aren't intimidated. Logan's mouth curved slightly. Good, because I'm not. The words weren't arrogant. They were steady, unshaken, and something inside me reacted to that steadiness. Mia had claimed a corner of my living room, coloring quietly but listening to everything. How did you know you liked her? She suddenly asked. Logan glanced at me. This wasn't in the script. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at me the way he had in my office. Careful, observant. She tries really hard, he said finally. Even when she's tired. The room went still. That wasn't rehearsed. That wasn't strategy. That was real. I swallowed. What about me? Mia pressed. What made you like my daddy? I should have answered something safe, something polished. Instead, I said the truth before I could stop myself. He protects what matters. Logan's gaze shifted slightly at that. The air between us changed. Mia smiled, satisfied, and went back to coloring. We didn't speak for a moment. Then Logan stepped closer. Not touching, just close enough that I could feel his warmth. You don't have to lie to me, he said quietly. I'm not lying. You're hiding. That hit. I lifted my chin. This is a transaction. Is it? Yes. He studied me again. If this is just business, why does it feel like you're about to run? I froze, because he was right. I wanted to run. From him. From this feeling. From the way my chest tightened. Every time he looked at me like I wasn't made of glass and steel. You don't know me, I whispered. Then let me. The simplicity of that terrified me. Before I could respond, Mia stood up. I'm hungry, she announced. The spell broke. Logan stepped back. Professional again. Safe again. But as I moved toward the kitchen to order dinner, one thought wouldn't leave me. I didn't just hire a man to play my boyfriend. I invited someone who sees through me. And tomorrow, when my parents arrive, I'm not sure which version of me will be standing beside him. The doorbell rang at 7:12 p.m., 2 minutes earlier than expected. My mother has always believed punctuality is a virtue. My father believes it's a strategy. I stood frozen for half a second. Logan noticed. He didn't say anything. He just stepped beside me. Close. Not touching, but close enough that I could feel the steadiness of him. Breathe, he murmured. I hadn't realized I wasn't. I opened the door. Mom. She rushed forward first, perfume and warmth and concern wrapped into one elegant woman who still saw me as her little girl. Sierra, you look beautiful. Her eyes immediately shifted past me and landed on him. Oh, that one word held 100 assessments. My father stepped in slower, measured, observing. Logan extended his hand first. Mr. Vale, it's good to finally meet you. Firm handshake, direct eye contact, no flinching. Dad tested his grip. Logan didn't budge. Interesting. Mom smiled brightly. And this must be Mia. Mia stepped forward carefully. Yes, ma'am. I'm 6. My mother melted instantly. My father softened without realizing it, and just like that, the room warmed. We moved into dinner. Conversation flowed easier than I expected. Logan answered questions without over-explaining. He didn't pretend to be impressed by my company. He didn't pretend to be intimidated either. When my father asked, "What do you see in my daughter?" Logan didn't hesitate. "She doesn't quit." Silence. Forks paused midair. "And she thinks she has to carry everything alone," he added quietly. "But she doesn't." My throat tightened. That wasn't part of the story. That wasn't rehearsed. My mother's eyes glistened. My father studied Logan differently now. Respect. I felt it. And that terrified me. Because they were believing this. They were believing him. And the worst part? So was I. Under the table, Logan's hand brushed mine. Not possessive. Not dramatic. Just there. Warm. Real. My heart reacted like it hadn't in 5 years. Then my father asked the question I wasn't prepared for. "How serious is this?" I opened my mouth to give the safe answer. The temporary answer. The controlled answer. But Logan spoke first. "I don't do halfway," he said calmly. And when I looked at him, he wasn't pretending anymore, and I didn't know if that was the best thing that had ever happened to me, or the most dangerous. "I don't do halfway." The words lingered at the table like smoke. My father leaned back slightly. My mother looked between us with something dangerously close to hope. And I felt exposed. "Logan," I said carefully, trying to steer this back into safe territory. "We've only been seeing each other a few months." It was supposed to soften things. It didn't. He didn't look at me. He looked at my father. "When I decide someone matters," he continued evenly, "I don't approach it casually." That wasn't part of the arrangement. That wasn't rehearsed. And the terrifying part? It didn't feel fake. Mia swung her legs under the table. "Daddy says if you build something, you build it strong." My mother practically glowed. My father cleared his throat, but I saw it. Approval. And suddenly this wasn't about fooling them anymore. It was about the possibility of disappointing them. Because they believed this. They believed him. Dinner ended warmer than I expected. My mother hugged Logan like she'd known him for years. My father invited him fishing. Fishing. We walked them to the elevator. When the doors closed, the silence inside my penthouse felt different. He turned to me slowly. "You okay?" There it was again. That question. That steady voice that didn't demand anything. I exhaled. "You went off script. You needed me to. That's not how this works." "Isn't it?" His eyes held mine. "You asked me to look at you like you matter." He stepped closer. "I can't fake that halfway." My pulse stumbled. "This is temporary," I whispered. "Then why are you shaking?" I hadn't noticed, but I was. Not from fear, from something else. He reached up slowly, gave me time to pull away. I didn't. His thumb brushed lightly against my wrist. Grounding, warm. "You don't have to carry everything alone," he said quietly. The words cracked something open inside me, and for one reckless second, I wanted to lean into him. I wanted to let someone hold the weight. But before I could decide, my phone buzzed violently on the counter. I glanced down. Unknown number. A photo message. When I opened it, my stomach dropped. It was Mia. Through the restaurant window. "Taken tonight." And beneath it one line. "Back off the Anderson merger, or next time she won't breathe at all." The air left my lungs. This wasn't pretend anymore. I couldn't feel my hands. That's the first thing I remember. The phone was still in my grip, but my fingers had gone cold. Logan noticed instantly. "What is it?" I couldn't speak, so I turned the screen toward him. He looked down, and I watched something inside him shift. Not confusion, not panic. Rage. Controlled. Lethal. "Who sent this?" he asked quietly. "I don't know." But I did know. Deep down I knew exactly who. Victor Marsh. Nexus Corp. The man who'd been circling the Anderson merger like a shark. "They took this tonight," Logan said, his jaw tightening. "At dinner. They were watching us." The room suddenly felt smaller. Unsafe. Mia was in the guest room down the hall, 6 years old, clutching a unicorn, unaware that grown men were using her as leverage. Logan moved first. He walked to the hallway, checked the locks, checked Mia, came back. "She's asleep." His voice had changed. It wasn't the boyfriend voice anymore. It was father, and it was terrifying in its steadiness. "We go to the police," he said. "I can't." His eyes snapped to mine. "Excuse me?" "If I accuse Marsh without proof, he'll destroy the merger. He'll claim I'm unstable, paranoid. You care about a merger right now? I care about not escalating this until I know how deep it goes." He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Then he stepped closer. "So what's your plan?" There it was. The question I'd been asking myself for years. What's the plan, Sierra? Win, control, outmaneuver. But this wasn't business. This was personal. and that scared me more than the threat. I'll handle it, I said quietly. You don't handle this alone. His voice cracked for the first time. She's my daughter. And she's under my roof, I snapped back. Silence, heavy, charged. Mia stirred in the hallway. A small cough. Both of us turned toward the sound at the exact same time. That was the moment it changed. This wasn't about ego, or pride, or contracts. It was about protection. Logan looked at me again. Softer now. You wanted someone who doesn't do halfway. He stepped closer. So don't push me away when it gets real. And for the first time in years, I didn't know how to respond. Because it was real, and I was already too deep. I didn't sleep, not even for a minute. Every sound felt amplified. The elevator in the hallway, the hum of the refrigerator, Mia coughing softly in the guest room. Logan sat on the edge of my couch, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor like he was mapping exits in his head. At 3:17 a.m., I made the decision. I called my head of security. Full detail, I said. Starting now for me, for Logan Reed, and for his daughter. Logan looked up when I ended the call. You should have done that the second you saw the message. You're right. That was new, admitting that. I don't like reacting emotionally, I said quietly. It makes me feel out of control. He stood slowly. This isn't about control. It's about protecting her. Yes, he said firmly. Which means you don't push me out. There was no anger in his voice now, just resolve, the kind that builds houses, the kind that doesn't crack under pressure. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number, this time just text. Last warning, withdraw by morning. I felt it then, not fear, clarity. Marsh wasn't testing me. He was escalating, and he'd chosen the one thing in my life I couldn't compartmentalize. Mia. She stays with me tonight, Logan said quietly. In her room. I'm not sleeping. I'm not either. He looked at me, long, searching. You didn't hesitate. What? With security. With protecting her. I swallowed. I won't let anyone use a child to control me. That's not what I meant. He stepped closer. You care. The word landed harder than the threat had. I just don't want anyone getting hurt. You care, he repeated. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't obligation. It wasn't responsibility. It wasn't strategy. It was attachment. Dangerous, deep, real. I met his eyes. What if this doesn't stop? Then we stop it, he said simply. You and me. The words wrapped around something fragile inside me. Together. No one had said that to me in 5 years, not without expecting something in return. Security knocked at 4:02 a.m. The war had officially started. And for the first time, I wasn't standing alone. By morning, the lie didn't matter anymore. The fake relationship, the performance, the script, all of it felt small compared to the image burned into my mind. Mia struggling to breathe because a man wanted leverage. I stood in my office at 8:30 a.m., facing my executive team. Call the FBI, I said. Silence fell. Marcus blinked. Sierra, that escalates this. It already escalated. I placed the printed photo of Mia on the table. No one spoke, because they understood. This wasn't business warfare anymore. This was criminal. By 10 a.m., federal agents were in my conference room, reviewing server logs and tracing Nexus Corp's suspicious activity. By noon, we had confirmation, unauthorized breaches traced back to Marsh's internal systems. And then, they found something worse. A purchase order, industrial allergen dispersal units, timed aerosol release devices. My stomach dropped. He planned it, the agent said quietly. This wasn't random. Planned, documented, cold. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. Logan was there. He hadn't left my building since dawn. He stood the second he saw my face. Tell me. He ordered equipment, I whispered, to trigger asthma attacks. His eyes darkened in a way I'd never seen before. For a second, I thought he might break something. Instead, he did the opposite. He pulled me into him.
Tight.
Protective. You did the right thing, he murmured into my hair. I almost didn't. But you did. I pulled back, my heart racing. They're moving on him this afternoon. Warrants, arrest. And then it's over? I wanted to say yes. I wanted certainty. But before I could answer, my phone rang. Unknown number. Again, I answered without thinking. Ms. Vale. Victor Marsh. His voice smooth. Unbothered. I hear you've involved the authorities. You threatened a child. I applied pressure. You committed assault. He chuckled. Careful, Sierra. Wars get ugly. They already are. There was a pause. Then his voice dropped. You think this ends with paperwork? You think I don't have contingencies? My pulse spiked. What did you do? He laughed softly. Nothing yet. The line went dead. I turned slowly toward Logan. And for the first time since this began, I felt fear, not for my company, not for myself, for him, for Mia. Because if Marsh had a contingency, then this wasn't over. It was just beginning. I should have trusted my instinct. The fear wasn't paranoia. It was warning. At 2:14 p.m., the FBI arrested Victor Marsh. At 2:26 p.m., my life almost ended. Logan and I had just left my office building, security detail tight around us. Mia was safe at my penthouse with 2 agents stationed outside. Everything felt controlled, managed,
handled.
Then a black SUV jumped the curb. It happened so fast. A man stepped out of the passenger side, gun raised, not at me, at Logan.
Get down!
Someone shouted. Logan shoved me backward without hesitation. The shot cracked through the air. Glass shattered. Screams everywhere. I hit the pavement hard. When I looked up, Logan was on the ground, blood on his sleeve. My world narrowed into a single suffocating tunnel. No, 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 no. Security tackled the shooter before he could fire again. Sirens screamed in the distance. Chaos swallowed the street, but I didn't hear any of it. I was crawling to him. Logan, look at me. Look at me. His eyes were open, focused. I'm okay, he gritted out. You're bleeding. Just my arm. But his face had gone pale. My hands were shaking as I pressed against the wound. I can't lose you, I whispered, not caring who heard. His hand found mine. You're not. The ambulance came in minutes. It felt like hours. At the hospital, I stood outside the operating room while doctors worked to remove the bullet. Non-fatal. They kept repeating it. Non-fatal. But nothing felt non-fatal about what I'd almost lost. When they finally let me in, he was groggy, bandaged, alive. I sat beside him and didn't try to be composed. Didn't try to be CEO. I love you, I said. No performance. No hesitation. His lips curved weakly. I know. Don't, I whispered. Don't almost die again. He squeezed my hand. Then don't push me away again. That broke me, because I had been, even after everything, even after the threats and the arrests and the rooftop fear, I had still been holding back. I'm done pretending, I said softly. Not to my parents, not to you, not to myself. His eyes searched mine. For real? For real. He exhaled slowly. Good, because I didn't sign up to play boyfriend. A tear slipped down my cheek. What did you sign up for? He smiled faintly. Forever. And this time, I didn't run from it.